do you mind starting off with telling everybody what made you decide to sign up for coaching? What really caught your attention when you saw the Parenting Together program?
I would say toddlers send you on a roller coaster and make you wonder if it's you or if it's them or if it's, you can't really find the source of the issue. So I think my husband and I were both curious a way we could find some more answers and more guidance that's not couples therapy, that's not the generic online courses. So we wanted to be more prepared for some of the next stages of life of our kids. Since we will be having 3 under the age of 4, it felt like time to get a little bit more education. And we're both so busy, but Amanda's program seemed approachable. It didn't feel like a commitment that we couldn't handle. And after talking to you and having that initial call, we realized, okay, this can fit into our schedule. We can make time for this. And seems like we'll get some tools could really make a difference for us.
And so how would you describe how your relationship with your kids and with your husband, Zach, changed from before the program to after? What kinds of tools might you have learned, or if you had increased patience or confidence, what did that ultimately look like for you?
I think number 1 would just be education and understanding of the toddler brain
Mhm.
and learning so much more and being more empathetic to what they're going through in a certain moment. And then in terms of partner, I think Zach and I just learned, okay, here's what you might be going through in a certain moment. Here's what I might be going through in a certain moment. And what are the specific things we could be doing in those moments to work better, and also the why around why we might act in certain ways. A lot of discussion around our own upbringings and our goals and our hopes and dreams for our family. So really blending the 2.
Yeah. And how did you come to learn more about where Zach was at and build that empathy and understanding for him?
So we both would fill out our workbooks and reflect on various things, which when you're going through that, I don't think you really realize what you're trying to accomplish. You're just sort of giving answers to the questions and thinking, okay, here's what I feel about this, here's what I think about this, here's was my experience. But then when you sit down in the call and you hear what your spouse has said, and you realize, oh, okay, so for example, working parents and what that feels like and what that looks like and how he experienced that, or discipline, and being able to really talk through these answers to these questions and why they're showing up in different ways. It was fascinating and therapeutic because I think just answering the questions felt like, okay, here's an answer, here's what I think, but then really applying it and learning more about, oh, okay, so that's how he sees it, that's what he's been through, that's his experience, that's what he's bringing to the table, and vice versa. And then Amanda's talking us through how those things are showing up with our kids. It was like lifting off a screen of, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. So then you have more sympathy for
Yeah.
yourself too.
Yeah.
There's constant things that need your attention, but having someone that says, okay, we are going to talk about this, we are going to dig into this was huge.
I'm so glad that you guys were willing and vulnerable enough to actually do that with me.
Yeah.
So I want
Yeah.
to wrap this up here, and just if you could summarize your tangible results from the program, and if you were to say in a few sentences to somebody who is skeptical or is wondering, is this the right thing for me? What would you say those results are that you got? And why would you recommend I be somebody else's coach for going through this specific program?
First was the tangibles. I would say actual strategies when dealing with different things I've walked away with. So specific things I can do with my body, specific things I can do with my mind, and specific things that I can apply every single day would be the tangibles. So by way of example, yesterday there's a meltdown, there's a situation going on, there always is, and I got a cool washcloth. I put it behind my neck and I used some of the things that Amanda had taught us. It was like, okay, so not only am I doing this action, but now I'm thinking about the things that we've learned. So I think the tangibles are actual action items that you can do as a parent and as a partner. And then in terms of if someone's skeptical about proceeding, I think it's just a matter of if you really want to learn and if you really want to understand the different people in your home. And I think that you have to want it. You have to want that. You have to want to understand where your 2-year-old's at, where your 3-year-old's at, where your spouse is at, where your partner's at. And if that's not where you want to go, if you don't want to understand what other people are going through, then it might not be the right course for you. But if you do want to lean in, understand, educate, and then be better and be more yourself because you're understanding what everyone else is going through. And you also get to learn what you're going through. So it has to be something that you're ready to dig into. And then it will make you feel better because you'll see and you'll learn a lot about those other people that are in and out of your household. And then I think the difference between probably this course versus others, or why Amanda, I think, is just somebody that's going to listen, but also guide. So I think when you take a course or you learn from different online accounts or even in person courses, there's a lot of information coming at you. And this felt a lot more like, okay, I'm sharing my information and she's taking it and then giving it back to me. So
Mhm.
that personalized approach and that sympathy, empathy, but also calling you out on some level and asking you questions and saying, you said this. Why do you think you're doing that? How do you think that he felt? How do you think that you felt? There's a lot of guidance while listening, but I don't think that tailored guidance comes from some of the more generic courses that are around. And the amount of information on the internet can feel super overwhelming, and this didn't.
That is so beautifully said. And if you don't mind, I do want to circle back just real quick to a couple things that you said. So it was interesting how you're talking a lot about understanding and empathy. And there may be parents out there who are like, oh, so you're just going to teach me to sit around and sing Kumbaya or something. And, maybe all these parent coaches are teaching you to do things that are really unrealistic. Did you ever feel like that was me telling you to just be calm and zen all the time?
I felt like it was a lot of, what is your parenting style? How do you wanna show up? What kind of balance do you want in your household? Not, "Here's how I do it." I didn't feel like you were putting your styles on us. You wanted to hear about our styles, but then also the difference between the power in the home. So it wasn't like, "Oh, yeah, sit there and listen because your toddler, everything they're going through is valid and every feeling they have is valid. Sit down and validate every single thing they're feeling and stop what you're doing. Stop cooking dinner. Stop reprimanding them and just listen and feel." It wasn't like that at all. So I think there was a lot of balance there. It was more like, where do you want to land? Where are
Mhm.
you at in that moment? How are you reacting in that moment? Are you reacting like a toddler? Are you giving them the time and the space? Are you listening? Are you getting on their level? Or is it time for you to move on to the next thing? So it was tailored to our parenting styles. It didn't feel kumbaya. It's like there's so many different boundaries that we can hold and still understand what a toddler might be going through or how they might be feeling. And also just them reacting to your emotions. So a lot about like, how are you feeling? How are you reacting? How is your tone affecting the room? And if you're feeling unsure, you're feeling guilty, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're feeling panicked, it shows up. So
Mm.
just a lot of dealing with your own stuff too, not just making sure every single toddler feeling is coddled.
Yeah. Yeah. And I certainly appreciate how you both were, again, willing to reflect and to work on these things because it's not always easy to have the mirror held up and being able to look inside and see how can I approach the situation better. And the incredible thing is that you did that and it impacted everyone in your family and impacted your relationship with your partner and with your kids. So, any final
Mhm.
words for anyone listening?
I would just say that if there's a part of you that thinks that you can be feeling better, not necessarily doing better, because it's not all about the mom or the leader of the household doing better, doing more, because that's not what it's about. It's about just making sure that you're communicating to the people around you and you're listening to their communications back. And I just think if it's so important to work on that. And if there's a world in which there's time to work through those things with Amanda, it's so worth your money. It's so worth your time.